think it's more difficult to live a life as an adult immigrant as compared to if maybe you moved when you were younger?
Definitely more difficult. For an adult immigrant, you have invested so much back home, right? You probably have built a house. You probably have, done businesses. You have done a lot of investments back home. That the most important thing have here to survive is information. If you lack information, you're finished, because you will see other people going and they are succeeding, but you don't have the same information they have, so you're just stagnant. You're in the same place and you cannot do anything about it. So if you don't put yourself in the place where you're constantly intentionally seeking for information, you'll be lagging behind and you'll find it so hard to succeed.
One important thing, if you're arriving in Edmonton, Alberta, I've got good news for you. If you need to find a home, an apartment for your family, for yourself, reach out to me. We have a full settlement service. You can find the link on the screen or in the pinned comment in the description. Let's help you take that stress off you before you arrive. Let's get right into the conversation. Titi Imba.
Hi.
She came to Canada last year. This is your first winter. And T and I met through YouTube, right? So when she was arriving, she reached out to me by email. So I mean, my email is always open. I think it's more difficult to live a life as an immigrant, as an adult immigrant, as compared to if maybe you moved when you were younger.
Definitely more difficult. Why? Because when you were younger, there was not really much at stake. You still had your whole life in front of you to explore. You could easily take spontaneous decisions. But now, being in a place where, for an adult immigrant, you have invested so much back home, right? You probably have built a house. You probably have, done businesses. You have done a lot of investments back home that, when you move, you really see yourself being rebirthed. Like you're completely leaving everything and coming over.
You see yourself being rebirthed. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a very key point. Because like a lot of people have met, if you're honest and you go through the journey, you see that you become a different person.
A different person. An entirely different person. Because you find yourself starting all over. And for me, I look at it this way. Even though I'm starting all over, I'm not starting all over. I'm starting on a different page. And so it's just like a continuation of the same journey, but from another angle. You understand? So it's not like you're starting from scratch and all of that. And you have
more experience, life experience to bring in, to pull into.
Definitely.
So all that makes a difference.
Yeah. And I would say that one of the biggest things migration has taught me is how much I can handle. Because it's one thing to leave your country and come to a country where you have nobody. There's no mother, there's no father. For some people, it's different. They have their family here, some of them schooled here. So it's not so bad for them. But, leaving your country, leaving your job, leaving your family and coming to where you know nobody and being able to survive, that's well, adapting has not really been easy because, having to wear all the thick winter jackets, move on very slippery ice and try not to fall. It's not been easy.
For a lot of people, coming from a warm climate, you come from Cameroon, and so coming from a warm climate, the winter can be quite of a shock. Right? So it's good to know that you are adapting and all that. So what has been like the most difficult part of your journey since you came?
To be honest, I've really had a very smooth journey. Coming over to Canada, there's a lot of information I had before coming, which has really made my settling in really easy. But so far, just the nostalgia. Whenever I pick up my phone and I have to see, things going on back home, I really miss home, which is very normal because, I recently moved. But then again, I would say that the culture has not also been really easy, adapting to the way people think and the way people do things here. There are a lot of culture shocks I've had to, deal with. And I'm just like, hey, so this is how it goes on here.
Culture shocks like what?
Okay, the first thing that really got to me was there was this time I was, relating with somebody in church, and then they made a statement because to me, and I thought it was just a normal statement, not knowing that they were actually insinuating that they were not comfortable with maybe the way I was, expressing a particular thing to them.
Okay.
And then it's later that somebody else explained to me that she was trying to tell you that she doesn't like
that.
when you do that. And then I was like, oh my God.
How did that make you feel?
I had to really apologize and say,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
it's really not intentional.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe back home for me, this is
a
how,
joke.
this is how we do things. And, but she was cool after that. But one thing I noticed is Canadians are very polite. When you're doing something wrong, they'll not tell you outrightly that you're doing something wrong. They'll only insinuate and expect you to just understand. And if you don't understand, you really have a hard time getting along with people. So that was like one of the experiences for me.
So I think it's good that like we put ourselves out there and then we experience these things and then we can learn from them.
Exactly.
Because if you're also scared to make mistakes, then you keep to yourself and you never actually grow, right, in the new environment. Because now you can say, okay, now you know more things than you did when you previously
came. Exactly. There are some good things as well. There are also good culture shocks. Like I really love the fact that kids can move around easily. They respect pedestrians a lot here. And the transit system is really good. Even if you don't have a car, you can really go by for a period of time. And those are the things that really at least make me feel a little bit comfortable. But apart from that, I've just been struggling. And then the fact that you get to meet a lot of people, you cannot really know who is a Canadian. You meet everybody's an immigrant. So at every point in time, you're either speaking to somebody with an entirely different accent. You have to try to make them understand you and you understand them. And so, but all in all, I'll say it's been a very good journey. And one thing I want to also mention here is the proof of funds. When the Canadian government says that come with this amount of money, try as much as possible, to do the right thing and then come with the money, because when you come now you start training and then you're trying to settle in, you're trying to pay your house rent, you get groceries before you get a job and all of that. So if you're planning on moving, make sure that at least you have the required funds to hold you for a period of time.
You mentioned that you had a lot of information before you came to Canada. How did that information impact you? The information that you got, were they negative, positive? How was it like? And how did that influence your journey?
This is one thing I always tell people. Moving abroad is good. Immigration is good. But at the end of the day, what boils down to your success in immigration is how prepared you are. Because imagine me now saying that, I miss home. I'm still getting culture shocks. But I was prepared before coming. I knew that these things were going to be there. I had watched videos. I had done research about the life here in Canada, cost of living and all of that. But even when I came, I still felt the heat a little bit, but not as bad as it would have been if I had absolutely no information, right? So for me, I did a lot of research. I researched about the life in Alberta, the weather. A lot of people think Alberta is limited to Edmonton and Calgary, but there are other towns, there are other areas. I researched so deeply, about those remote areas in Alberta, how possible it is to stay there before even making a decision to settle in Edmonton. Yes, so I did a lot of that research. I also tried as much as possible to know how the job market is here, what it is that I can easily find myself. I remember when I came, I volunteered though. I volunteered for a month.
And that's something we encourage a lot
of people to do, because when I talk about preparedness, there are two types of preparedness. Being prepared by, knowing what to do when you land, and, and there's another preparedness that comes from your mind, like your mental preparedness. I remember telling my mom one time, and she was like, you're leaving your job and you're going to go to Canada. How will you do? Your customers are going to miss you and all that. And I'm like, where I am, I've already told myself that I'm going to be reborn like a child, that is being born, and you have to start learning to crawl and then to walk, and then later on you can run, right?
When we finish school, we start looking for jobs, and then we start from scratch. So once you are coming here, you should have the same approach, and not expect that because it's Canada, the moment you land, everything will be smooth.
That's what a lot of people think, but it's never that way, because mental preparedness means that you accept right from the time you pack your bags and leave your country that you have left your country, and wherever you're going to, you have to adapt. I told my mom one time that if I get to the airport in Canada and they say everybody before you pass here you have to bend, I will not even ask a question. I will just bend and continue going, because that already puts you in the in that adaptation, system where you see others doing what they are doing, do it, and then you ask why later on, and then keep going. You understand? But if you want to get there and they say bend, and you start saying, why do I have to bend?
Yeah.
In my country, I don't bend.
I don't bend.
It makes things so difficult for you. You become so very inflexible,
Yeah.
and then you're not able to easily adapt. You start asking a lot of questions. But why does it have to be that way? But you left your country for another country, so you need to,
Adapt.
put yourself,
Yeah.
put yourself in that mood and just adapt as you go. The most important thing have here to survive is information. If you lack information, you're finished, because you will see other people going and they are succeeding, but you don't have the same information they have, so you're just stagnant. You're in the same place and you cannot do anything about it. So if you don't put yourself in the place where you're constantly intentionally seeking for information, you'll be lagging behind and you'll find it so hard to succeed, because people will tell you, no, this thing is not possible, you can't do it like this. But there are people who have done it that way and they are still doing it. But if you don't put yourself in that position of, no, I think that there is somebody who has done this, and you find those people who have done it, then you find yourself, lagging behind and say, oh no, and then you start suffering, and then have a very bad experience.
Say,
People have had
things are
really bad
not like the
experiences.
people said it was. It's very difficult. Yes, it's difficult, but you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
That's the see, like it shows that you have the right mindset, and I can see it in your journey. I mean, we've spoken about what you are doing, and we get into that so that you can encourage other people. But I want you to take us back to Cameroon. How was life like in Cameroon? What were you doing, and what were you involved in before you decided to move to Canada?
So, first of all, one thing I always tell people is, you don't migrate from your country because you're hungry. Not everybody migrates. It's true that some people really migrate for greener pastures, but then again, not everybody migrates from their country because they are coming for greener pastures or they are hungry, right? For me, it was more of exposure. I really wanted to see how life is from another angle, an entirely different angle, because I was so comfortable. I was comfortable to the extent that I was asking myself if I'm actually growing. I had a good job. I had a house which was paid for. I had my family giving me so much help. I had like 2 nannies in my house. I had a driver taking me to work and taking me anywhere I wanted to go. So it's not like I was in any position where I would say
You were lacking
something. I was actually living well, and everybody who heard that I left my country, I left my job and I moved, they're like, wait, what happened?
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for? What do you want? What else do you want? I got that reaction a lot. Because I used to work in a bank, and we know, at least back home, banking is, I would say, it's a noble profession. Yeah. And I have worked in the bank for 10 years. I worked in banking and finance as a whole for 10 good years before migrating to Canada. So that was what I was doing back home. But then again, at every point in time, I kept on asking myself, is this all about it? Okay, yes, I have a good job. I had my master's degree already. I had my kids were doing well. Everything was really good and in place. I had family. I could even easily access my family. But then I kept on asking myself, is this all about it? Like, what can I really do to challenge myself? How well can I experience what I can handle, what I can take if I don't leave my comfort? Because I was too comfortable. I was so comfortable. I'm telling you that I used to ask myself these questions, that if I don't take care, I'll just be here, just working on my same job. And before I know it, it's 15, 20 years. I have not really taken time to experience life from different angles. And that's how I began this whole migration journey. Mind you, I had wanted to migrate since 2021.
Okay.
2020, I think that's about 6 years back. But for some reason, I'll just be like, but it's not like I'm not doing well, know. Yeah. But then again, when it really hits me was when, I told myself, okay, I need to take this decision and decide on it right now and make a move. Okay. Right?
How's it like settling in, finding your first job? What were some of the things that you did?
For coming to the settling in, for the other aspects, you know, getting a house and all of that, I had already, you know, gone ahead to make arrangements before even landing. Now coming here, getting a job, that's where the battle actually began. But there was one thing I did even before landing.
Okay. Hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Please leave a comment, a question, any thoughts you have. If you're in Canada or if you're arriving soon, we've put together a team that's going to help you work through your CV, tailor it to the Canadian system to help you to ace the interview when you finally land one. If this is a coaching program that you would like to go through with us, I'll leave the link on the screen. It will also be in the pinned comments. Please book a call with us. Let's get right back into the conversation.
So when and I always advise every other person to do the same thing. Canada has a lot of programs. So I enrolled for the pre-arrival programs and do your CV. We do your LinkedIn because LinkedIn here is like it's called king. You cannot survive in a professional world without a good LinkedIn profile. Even if you're not a very posty person,
at least
make sure your LinkedIn is intact. It's neat because that's your identity, your professional ID here. Anything you want to do, they will check your LinkedIn first. So all of that I did before landing. When I landed, I started job hunting. What do they call it? Job bank. I was there. Indeed. I was there. Glassdoor and all of that. And one thing everybody kept on telling me is in Canada, those jobs you're seeing that they're already taking. They're already taking. So start to know who knows who, and then you know start to put yourself network and it's your network that will help you. So I started to network. You know, I'll reach out to people and tell them I'm looking for a job. But the challenge I had was that since I was with kids, I was not able to attend all these, you know, networking events, job fairs and stuff like that. So I was just relying on what I could lay my hands on. That was, you know, the people I know around me. And I got a few referrals. When I did the first week I landed, I got an offer. The first week. So if I landed like on Sunday, the next week Friday I got an offer, and that was with a bank. And the only thing was that the offer was not really convenient. It was first of all a temporary contract, and then the distance. You know, I had to go a really long distance to go to work every day, and then you know being with the kids and all that. So I was looking for a remote job to be able to allow me work from home and all of that. I continued to search. Then I started to volunteer. So when I went to church one time, I spoke to networking in Canada is everything. Talk, or if you don't talk, you're finished. Because if you don't speak, nobody will know that you're looking for this thing. And the job is right in front of you. They are looking for somebody to fill that job, and you're not speaking. And that's how the opportunity will pass you by. So I spoke to a church sister of mine, and she was like, okay, you can come volunteer with us in our company. And I kept on searching. The first job I had, I declined because it was too far. Got another offer, but it was really not what I wanted. It was a lot of work for really little pay. So I declined the second offer. And then the third offer was a referral. Now, that referral, I think that I came in late. I was referred late. If I had gone in earlier, I would have gotten that offer. And so I spoke to a friend who told me, my company is looking for this person. I don't know if they've already gotten the person because they were interviewing people last week, but let me just send your name. And that's how they sent my name. And they sent my name, as they sent my name in, the very next day I got an email saying, we have gotten you as a referral who would like to have an interview with you. Tell us when you are available. And that's when it really dawned on me that Canada, they want people to vouch for somebody, and they just take you to consider you for a job.
Would you consider Canada's networking, right, similar to the who you know in Africa?
Cameroon, we call it man no man. The difference here in Canada is that back home, right, the policy of man no man is like, even if the person cannot do the job, they'll just give you that job because your father is this, because your uncle is the director. They'll just give you that job. You're incompetent, but they give you the job. But here, even with the referral, the person has to be competent.
Prove yourself,
The person has to have the qualifications. The person has to be able to do that job. If you're not able, even if they refer to you, they will not give you that job. So that's the kind of the difference here in Canada. So when I got that referral, I did the interview. I was really hoping for that job, but I did not get the job. And I had to, go back again into the job market. It was really hard, honestly. It was really hard, especially, coming from a full-time being a full-time banker. People were calling you madam. And then there was a lot of Canadian experience. And that's why I chose to do the volunteering. Because they look for Canadian experience a lot. And then, you don't have experience. And how do I get this experience if you don't give me this job now? Volunteering is good. Networking is equally important. What you need to have in your mind when you're looking for a job in Canada is that you need to keep searching. Just keep searching. Don't say, oh no, this one is just no. Just keep searching. Put yourself out there. Tell people you're looking for a job, because at the end of the day, you don't know where that job is going to. It's not, the jobs don't really. They're not. Some people do get jobs from their sites online, but very few. So network on LinkedIn, like people's posts, say hi, congratulations. Just make sure you're being seen. Don't
so
be
it's not just like open a LinkedIn, put your picture there and leave it. You have to use it as a virtual networking tool.
Yes, it's the virtual networking tool. Like people's posts. When you like somebody's post and somebody comes, they will see your title, check your page. Oh, this person is this, and then, they
send messages, ask people to go on coffee chats if they're in your city. It helps. In general, like moving from Cameroon here to Canada, I know that you mentioned that people questioned why, because you had a good job and all that. Why do you think people misunderstood your journey and your move?
Well, I think it's, first of all, like we said initially, it's a mindset problem, because people think that when you have a good job, when you have everything going well for you, you don't need to find more. But I think differently, because I love to challenge myself. Sometimes I tell myself that I challenge myself so much that I ask myself that, am I okay? What are you doing? Are you sure are you sure everything is okay with you? But I'm that person who always challenge myself. I hate to be redundant in any way. I always want to renew. I always want to change. I'm so receptive to change. I always want to change things, be different, do things differently, see things differently, explore, and that's me. So a lot of people misunderstood it because they just thought, oh, maybe it ends there, you have a good job, your kids are doing well, and that's it. But for me, I really wanted to see the world from a completely different angle. I wanted to see what it means to live here, understand, in a completely developed environment where the rules are the rules. Because back home, you can do anyhow. You don't see anyhow. You can, just do anyhow. You get away with it. But now coming to live in a completely different society where everything is so structured and you have to go by the rules, it just makes you see that, okay, there is so much more to yourself that you can do even out of the regular. So for me, and it has changed my mindset, because I now respect every single immigrant, irrespective of what they do for a living. Because when we are back home, you say, oh, those ones are there. They are sweeping the road, so they are doing these odd jobs and all of that. But the person who left their country, came over here and is doing those odd jobs and is surviving, has a completely different mindset.
And they've changed so much than, it's not about material things.
Exactly.
But their mindset, their personality, they are exposing themselves to growth,
so much
to more
growth.
Opportunities. I remember a saying that I recently changed, and I love it so much. I said that if you want to change the world, you need to see the world.
Exactly. That's
right?
it.
You need to see the world to be able to change it. Because then you can understand different people and be able to influence them in different ways.
Yeah. And it did not take me so long to start to see things differently. When I moved here, let me just give you a simple example. Back home, when we are going out, we will dress up and you put perfume and you put makeup, and then your hair will be everywhere and everything. We put so much emphasis on how we look
outwardly,
for you to get respect, for you to, the culture, that's what the culture demands. But when I moved here, I noticed that Canadians are so simple.
They don't care.
And then I noticed that, okay, so the person who introduced me to their company for me to do volunteering was actually a very big director. And I could not tell until I got to that office. So simple. They present themselves
down to earth.
Everybody is seen as equal, even in the workplace. You don't hear, sir, ma,
do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am? Everybody, they try to make it so equal. Their respect is still there, but it's not from a subjective stand.
Domineering.
Yes, from a domineering stand. So it's different, and you begin to understand why the systems work the way they do over here compared to back home. Not that what we do back home is wrong or anything, but what we do is being influenced by our own culture. So coming as an immigrant, you will see that in the space of no time, your mindset begins to change. You begin to deprioritize things which were so much of a priority of no use, and then you begin to prioritize things. Like back here, they prioritize family a lot. But over back at home, the case is
What
different.
do you
There are other things
have?
we
What,
prioritize.
all those things. So what is that one thing that you've learned in this entire journey?
First is patience. That's the first thing I have learned. I learned to be patient, and I learned to believe in myself. Because before now, sometimes I used to have a lot of self-doubt. Like, I'll be like, can I really do this thing? I see other people do it and I'm like, wow, this person did this. This is so courageous. But doing this has given me, it has made me to see that part of myself that I can do what I set my mind to do. And I have learned to be so patient, because if you're not patient, you cannot,
you can't survive.
You can't go. You need to be patient. I've learned to be patient and take things one day at a time. So for me, patience and courage, I've seen those two things really just play out in this whole journey. And I know that there's still so much I have to learn, because I've been here now, it's not up to a year, it's just about half a year or so.
Yeah.
And there's so much I still have to learn, and I'm open to learning. I'm excited to what's coming in the future. Now, what I do a lot is I try to compare when I just moved here. The first day I moved here, and I look at my pictures now, and I'm like, oh wow, there's growth. Not bad, there's growth. Yeah, so.
What's the one advice you give to any newcomer who's now arriving or preparing to go through the process?
First of all, if you are preparing to go through the process, just take up a lot of courage. Be very courageous. Don't listen to the negative, the naysayers. Put your mind to it. Take your time, do your research, and you get it. Tell yourself, if every other person who has gone before you has done it, then you can do it. There's no difference. You can do it, and you will do it. And for those who are preparing to come, right? For those who are preparing to come, the first thing I'll say is give yourself a lot of time. Give yourself grace. Don't be too hard on yourself. Carrying out the process on its own has been a whole journey. Just be very kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to learn and unlearn. And in the end, you'll be glad you did.
You did.
Yeah.
Thank you, T. What's your favorite quote?
It always seems impossible until it is done.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. And please don't forget to follow her channel, T Secrets. I'll put the link in the description. You can also follow her on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Okay, so please follow her and encourage her on her journey as well. You can always reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you in my next video.
Bye.
Thank you.